رسول الله محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. Inshallah, we still remember our brothers and sisters, children and elders who are suffering under the impact of this earthquake. The numbers of victims are increasing significantly, doubled from one day. Yesterday was 2,300, today is almost 7,000, with 27,000 missing. And day after day, it's very slim chance to recover them. This one of the strongest ones since 1939. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy on them and to accept the victims as shuhada and to give quick healing to the wounded and to recover it for those who lost their homes, to give them shelter and to cover them by His own mercy in this extreme weather. Inshallah, from our end, we'll try to do our best to collect the fund. I'm still waiting for approval from the board to collect in this Friday. However, inshallah, we'll find some other alternatives to do our share also in this regard. We would like to wrap up this chapter, which is TATAWWU, the Nafl Salah, some rules related to this, to move on the next chapter, which is Salat al-Tawbah, the prayer of repentance. And I have a few things here to say it in this regard. We talked about Salat al-Tatawwu from different aspects. Still, Jama'ah and Salat al-Tatawwu, what is the preference to do Salat al-Nafl collectively together or we do it individually? We have to make some distinction between what types of Nafl we are making. Some Nafl, the preference is to do it in Jama'ah. And some Nafl is the preference to do it individually. We have Nafl like Salatul Eid. Salatul Eid, according to the vast majority of scholars, Maliki and Shafi'i, it's a Sunnah Mu'akkada. Hanafi, they said wajib. Hanabila, they said it's fard kifaya. Some people has to do it at least. But the vast majority suggested that it's a salat, it's type of salat sunnah. But what is the preference Salat al-Eid? To do it individually? No, it meant to be together, that we come together and pray collectively. Then the preference in Salat al-Eid is Jama'ah. The preference Salat al-Kusuf and Khusuf, with that you have to make sure that you are following your mazhab, because we have Salah for the sun, but Salah for the moon we don't have it in Hanafi. We have just 2 rak'at for Kusuf. But anyway, the vast majority, they pray Salat al-Kusuf, the eclipse of the moon and the sun. It's that we go out together and pray, to make one call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us these 2 bounties. This also a congregational salah that we do it collectively. Salatul Istisqa, watering salah. What is the preference? To do it individually, to do it in Jama'ah, because one dua or hundreds of dua or thousands of dua were appealing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to water us again. Then the preference is congregational prayer. Salatul Tarawih, what is the preference? Versus those who are saying, oh, Salatul Nafl is better to be at home individually, but Salatul Tarawih is not meant only to be a few rak'at, you do it between you and Allah. It's a celebration. The night celebration, we do it in Ramadan, then we celebrate together. Then the preference on Salatul Tarawih is to do it in Jama'ah. Salatul Witr in Ramadan, it's a sign also that many people, they do dua also. They do dua al-qunut together. They do dua al-qunut individually or collectively. Salatul Witr in Ramadan also is the preference is to do it in Jama'ah. Other than that, the preference for the rest of the prayers from nafl, not fard, to do it individually, by yourself. Why? Because you will manage your recitation, you will manage your dua, you will have a free time to make long sujood, long ruku'. It's up to your state. However, you still can do the rest of the nafl to do it in jama'ah. For example, the extreme one, maybe you did not think of at all. Greeting of the masjid. Can we do it in jama'ah? Yes. You can do it in jama'ah if you would like. You come together, 2-3 people, and say, let's do it in jama'ah. This is not the fundamental. The fundamental is to do it individually. But still, the other way is acceptable. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam showed us an example of this. Salatul Layl, it's mainly not one of these categories, but individually. But Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam did the Jama'ah with Ibn Abbas, did the Jama'ah with Huzaifa when he recited Baqarah and Al Imran and Nisa, did Jama'ah with Utban ibn Malik al-Ansari, did Jama'ah in the house of Sulaym with Anas ibn Malik and the orphan and Sulaym. He did the Jama'ah, broke the rules or the fundamentals and did it in the other way to show us that we can do it either in Jama'ah or not. Again, what is the preference? Some prayers I named, the Jama'ah is preferred. The rest of the prayers, the individual prayer or the single person prayer is preferred. Second point. When you do Jama'ah, what is the preference? To do it loud or to do it in secret? The scholars, they said the best to do it to match the fard prayer. We have fard prayers, some of them in secret, some of them loud. Night prayers are loud to make sure that you are awake, not sleeping. Day prayers are in secret because you are awake anyway. Many noise around you, don't need. Then also you do the nafl in the same way. Night prayers, the preference to do it loud. The day prayers, nafl day prayers, you do it. However, you can change. If you feel that it's better for you to have silent, not silence, like sacred prayers at night, do it if this will help you. Sometimes when you read loud, you get exhausted. Then you need to focus, or you need to focus in meditation by reciting in secret. Do it. During the day, can we do it? Yes, do duha, the 2 rak'at of shuruq, you can do it loud. Then the standing for, I covered this when I was talking to with the qiyam as one of the pillars of the prayers, and I will talk about it very quick. Standing for the prayer for the capable one, it's a mandatory in the fard. In the sunnah, it's more easy. The scholars said that is not a must. They used hadith of Sayyidah Aisha that it's in Bukhari, hadith sahih, that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam started rak'at of nafl sitting. And before the end of his recitation, by 30 verses, he stood up and started doing his recitation standing. And then he moved to ruku' and sujood. And the second rak'ah did the same thing. Started his prayer sitting. And he was not sick, but he was reciting long. Then he wanted to get his energy to the end of the prayer. They said, since the nafl is based on ease, then you can give your energy, focus your energy on something else other than standing. However, if you started your nafl prayer sitting, you can do standing. You can switch, stand. If you started your prayers, nafl prayers, standing, then according to some of the scholars, you cannot go and sit unless you have an excuse. It's not optional anyway. Especially our Imam Abu Yusuf, Yaqub and the Imam Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. From the Hanafi, they said, it's a pledge. You stood up, then you give a pledge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do your prayers standing. And when we give a pledge to Allah, we have to fulfill it. We have to fulfill this pledge. You cannot move to the lower one unless you are excused, you are sick, or you got tired completely, you are about to pass out, or something, dizzy, something like this. Other than that, you should keep doing your prayer standing. And this also will be the case on SALAAT al-TARAWWU. SALAAT, especially if you are praying with me. But alhamdulillah, I am easier than many other people around. I read fast, Sometimes you cannot follow, I fly. But some people, they read slowly and they repeat the verses. I prayed behind some of them. They repeat the verses. They are not reading only much, but also repeating the verses. There is no need to do this. Doubling the time. In this case, you can pray sitting. But if you are strict Hanafi, make your plan in advance. Start your prayer sitting. Then after that, switch to standing if you feel that you are strong. I have to mention that even if you choose to do a sitting prayer, you have to know that if you are capable to stand, you are missing half of the reward. Wow. Half of the reward. Yes, you are taking advantage of sitting, but also you are losing half of the reward because of the hadith that the Nabi ﷺ said, the reward of the one who's sitting, half of the reward who's standing.
Even if
no, and if there is no excuse.
So we gotta get
if there is an excuse, Shar'i legit excuse, then they are equal. Because the mandatory will be sitting for the one who's sitting, and the mandatory will be standing for the one who's capable to do this. But if in the normal cases decided to make it easy for yourself or to take advantage of the rukhsa, of the excuse, and you sit down, then you lost 50%. And also if you decided to do it lying down, and instead of sitting, then you lost 50 of the 50. This big discount. Noni, you will get the 25, I think, if you did the calculation. By the way, can we do the prayer lying down while we are capable to do standing? The vast majority, including the 4 schools of practice, official of them, said al-Ahnaf, Malikiyya, Shafi'i, and Hanabali said no, it's not permitted. Hadith talking about standing and sitting. Then Imam al-Hasan al-Basri and some of the Shafi'i, some of the Hanbali individual scholars, they said no, you can, still optional, because Nabi alayhi salatu salam counted different rewards. He said the one who's praying standing, he will have 4 rewards. The one who's doing sitting, he will have 50% of the reward. The one who's doing it lying down, he will have half of the one who's sitting. However, there is no dalil evidence to say that selectively you can do lying. The Nabi is talking about the one who's doing this because of the excuse, not because of the that he decided to sleep and to do the prayer. It's easier for him. Because if it's optional, everyone will lie down on the bed and do hundreds of rak'ah, right? You can do that for 1 hour, 2 hours, and maybe you are watching TV also. It's easy. The final point, which is people they talk about it, which is, if I missed the sunnah, can I make it up? Again, I will remind you about the sunnah ratiba. How many rak'at? Count with me. 2 before Fajr, 4 before Dhuhr, 2 after, 2 after Maghrib, 2 after 2 after Isha. 6 and 6, right? 12 rak'at. Every day, this is the hadith that they are talking about sunnah ratiba. Other than that, it's optional. 4 instead of 2 after Dhuhr, the other 2 are optional. Okay? 2 before Asr, it's optional, or 4 before Asr, according to some scholars, that's optional. Some people, they do Sunnah before Maghrib. We don't know it in Hanafi or Maliki. But some people do it. It's optional. If you missed some of your ratib, emphasized 4 before Dhuhr or 2 before Fajr, you missed them. Can you make them up later? We have 2 schools. The first one, which is Imam Shafi'i, in his new opinion, the Hanbali, some other scholars, they said, yes, as far as it's Sunnah Ratiba, emphasized one, you can make it up if you missed it. Either with the Fard or you missed it by itself. You missed the Dhuhr and it's Sunnah, or you missed just only the 4 rak'at before Dhuhr. You can make it up. And they use hadith that, the hadith reported by Salama that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, after Asr, he made 2 rak'at, after Asr. She asked him, what's this 2 rak'at? He said, I was welcoming delegation after Dhuhr from Bani Qais, and they kept talking until I missed my 2 rak'at after Dhuhr. Fadis the 2 rak'at. And they use this hadith and also you use the analysis that you miss something, you can make it up. من نام عن صلاة أو نسيها فليصليها حين يذكرها. If you forgot about your regular prayer or you slept over, make it up later on. They said Salah in general is not only Fard. Hanafi and Maliki, and also Shafi'i in the old opinion, they said no, we don't make up the Sunnah. To make up something, it should be a must first. You are not making up something optional. Why do you make it up? It's optional anywhere. But to make it up, it should be a must, and you are missing doing this must, then you are making it up. But then we are making up the fasting in Ramadan, not in Sha'ban, right? Do we make up missing fasting in Sha'ban? Because there is no mandatory fasting in Sha'ban. Then we don't say we are making up the 12th of Sha'ban because I did not fast it. You are not obligated to fast from the first place, right? It's analysis, right? Logic. But he said to make up something, it should be a must first, a mandatory for you to do it, and a nafl are not mandatory from the first place. However, we have opinion in Hanafi that if you messed up the entire time, you make it up as it is. You did not wake up for Fajr. In many days, we don't wake up for Fajr, right? Until sunrise maybe, or until later. We have people, they are heavy, and they see the people, they have sickness. Many people. Anyway, ليس في النوم تفريط إنما التفريط في اليقظة, as far as you did your best. When you wake up, you do only the Fard, or you do it with the 2 rak'at of Fajr? Hanafi, they said, if you missed the entire time, make it up as it is. 2 rak'at Sunnah, then the Fard. You messed up the entire Dhuhr, you were sleeping, and you woke up by the Asr time, then you do 4 rak'at Sunnah, 4 rak'at for Fard, and 2 rak'at for the Sunnah after. You can do this. However, the conclusion of Salaat al-Nafl. Inshallah, next time we'll talk about a new prayer. It's called Salaat al-Tawbah. The prayers of Tawbah, will explain it for you, inshallah. We are moving on in this direction. We'll talk about Salaat al-Jama'ah until we finish this chapter. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question concerning praying while driving. What is the Islamic perspective, and how is it done best?
If you are praying Sunnah, then you apply all of these rules, except Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was praying a nafl while he was riding the camel. And even the scholar, they said the camel was not in the direction of the Qibla all the time. The camel was leading. But if you are praying fard, then you have more than one violation. The first one that you are missing is standing. And the standing is a pillar. You cannot miss it except for extreme cases. You are sick. You are very old man, cannot stand. A pregnant woman with the heavy load that they cannot stand for a long time, something like this. But or you are in the plane and it's not safe for you. You are in a boat and it's not safe for you to stand. Other than that, you are obligated to stand up for the prayer. But to move and to do the fard on the car, you have to have a valid excuse. And the only valid excuse you can rely on is security. That you don't feel safe to pray outside. It's raining outside is not safe for you. It's snowing outside is not safe for you. And it's by driving to the town, you will miss the time of the prayer. Or if you prayed outside, someone maybe come and hit you out of hatred or something. In this case, yes, you got an excuse. And always I advise people, if it's between missing its standing and missing doing the prayer on time, combine. Do Dhuhr and Asr together and take advantage of the Hanbali opinion, or Maghrib and Isha together and take also advantage of the Hanbali opinion. Because there is a hadith supporting this, but there is no hadith supporting that to miss standing all the time. I say that and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of our sins and accept all of our good deeds.